It's obvious. I'm more this, more that. All I kept thinking was, what type of standard did these people create for themselves to identify whether they usually served Hashem out of fear or out of love? Is it just them talking, them throwing out ideas? Oh, I'm an Abba, you're a person. Do they not realize that there are mitzvahs of Hashem and halachas about what is required of you in certain circumstances, and how can you figure this out? So while they were just blah, blah, blahing the whole time, I sat back and thought about a list of standards that I would come up with myself to be able to figure out, am I serving Hashem out of a lot of love, or am I serving Hashem out of a lot of fear? You do that to yourself. You do that for yourself. But it's good to have a standard to figure out, can I identify what I was last year, and what I am this year, and what way I changed, and what ways I can get better? What way am I a good friend? What way am I not? What way am I a good son? Am I good to my parents? I want to be better to my mother. You have to be good to your parents. In what standard did I set up for myself to be able to figure those things out? And it's a brand new year, and you should be thinking about that type of stuff. Elul is a time for calculation, time for reflection, time to look back at ourselves and say, hey, I have a standard. I have a way to know that I've gotten better. A number of years ago, we, as a yeshiva, previous iteration of our yeshiva, we went to go to Torah B'das, and we got to hear from the person who was one of our rabbinical directors, rabbinical board members, Rabbi Yisrael Reisman, Shlita. We went to his yeshiva, and we went to hear him speak, and he spoke about making small changes, and he says it always bothers him that people go through Elul, and they say, every year, nothing ever changes. I try to make myself better, but nothing ever changes. He said he doesn't understand it. Because if you pick something, even if it's a small thing, even if it's one pasuk in davening, that's exactly what he said. Even if you pick one line of davening that you're going to focus on, well then how can you ever say you didn't grow? That one line of davening is where I grew. And in 1999, I worked on this. And in 2023, I worked on this. And in 2024, I worked on this. So you can have that line of davening as a standard. I changed. Saying a word, saying a nice thing, I changed. I'm better. In this year's Parshas Shoftim, it talks about a lot of things. One of the things it talks about in this year's Parsha is a fan favorite. Why is it a fan favorite? Because I spoke to my Rebbe, Rabbi Shirk, and I asked him, what type of, years ago when I was to start teaching as a Rebbe, what type of things should I teach? He said, anything with a lot of violence. A lot of violence. I added something else, violence and something else. But anyway, a lot of violence. This week's Parsha, a lot of violence. Killing people by accident. What's better than that? I'm chopping a tree. I'm, just laying down some fire. Happens to kill somebody. Violence. Killing people. And we know the halacha is that if a person kills someone by accident, he has to go to an ir miklat. He goes to a city of refuge. Sounds like a really terrible thing. He has to go there, he stay there until the kain will die. This is not a sufficient amount of time of his life, I imagine. The worst thing is if you're a Rebbe, as a Muslim, we often are concerned about this. If one of your students kills by mistake, you have to take your Rebbe with you. And I'd have to leave my family, and it's been terrible. I'd probably bring my whole family, and my family goes, I'm sure the whole day can just follow me to wherever you are. But I'm going to have to go to Ir Mikla, because one of you killed by mistake. Please, as a public service announcement, nobody here should kill by accident. I don't want to move. That said, the pasuk says, when identifying the Ir Miklot, it says like this, Tachin lacha haderech. You should prepare for you the way. What does that mean? There should be, says Rashi, signs on the road. Signs. Wherever you go, there's going to be a highway sign. It says 400 miles this way to New York, 30 miles that way to wherever. There's going to be a highway sign. And on that highway sign, it's going to say, City of Refuge that way. And a lot of them. It's going to be a frequent thing. So that a person who kills by accident will always know exactly where to go. Interesting. Well, if you always know where to go, then you probably never have to ask for directions. It's a very simple fact. You don't even have to have a map. The signs are always there. Go to the City of Refuge. Rabbi Milstein's wife's great-grandfather, the Hilig of Mashkiach, the Yerucham Lubavitz, notes something very interesting. It says like this. When it comes to killing by accident, there are a lot of signs. But there's another time when people have to travel. And that's where there's a mitzvah called bikurim. Bikurim are the first fruit that a person has. You have to bring it to Yerushalayim. And the process is, you don't get on a plane and fly to Yerushalayim. You don't get into a very fast car and zoom to Yerushalayim. You take it slow. You walk. Your town, everybody goes together with all their And you go 10 miles today, 10 miles tomorrow. And then when it's time to go to sleep, you sleep in the middle of the street. Everybody camps out. It's like a big outdoor party. Everybody's outside. They're all singing kumbaya. They're all singing together. A big kumsitz. Everyone's hanging out. And then you go another 10 miles the next day, and you hang out, outdoor street party again in the next town. Every single street. And you probably, in this case, strangely enough, there's no sign to say where Yerushalayim is. It doesn't say Yerushalayim that way. It's not so easy to find Yerushalayim. It's so small, but it's not that small. So how do you find out where Yerushalayim is? What do you think to do? You got to ask a lot of people for directions. This is what Yerushalayim says. You go over to people, and you say to them, you know where Yerushalayim is? Oh, it's north. It's north? Oh, okay, got it. Thank you. They go right? Great. And everybody knows. The whole place, the whole Israel's getting into it. Oh, everyone's going to get Bikurim. So I ask the question, when it comes to taking people who killed, murdered, by accident, they go to Ir Miklat, they get signs. When it comes to people for Bikurim, they don't get signs. They have to ask directions, take a map. They have to go to one of those stands with lots of maps and other stuff. I went on a trip to Boston. You get a map here, a map there, and they all have different sections, and everyone's trying to figure out where to go. Why are there no map, no signs when it comes to the mitzvah of Bikurim? Go to Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim that way. Good question. This is the question of the group. And he says a very, very important answer, which I want to share with everybody. What he says is that when it comes to killing by accident, murder, death, sadness, when it comes to that, better to have a sign. Because what's going to happen? I don't know where to go. I'm going to go over to you and you say, oh, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to Betzer. It's one of the urban Miklat. I'm going to Betzer. Why are you going there? Oh, I killed Palestine. We don't have to talk about that type of stuff. We don't have to talk about that type of stuff. That has to become part of the conversation. People have to start schmoozing about, you know how I killed that guy? How that guy got murdered? I mean, what's in the news nowadays except for murder? This person killed just today, another school shooting. You have to talk about that type of stuff? This is the conversation that people have to have? So says Rabbi Yerucham, therefore, when it comes to murdering by mistake, put up a sign. We don't want to talk about that type of stuff. Some stuff should not be part of our conversation. When it comes to Bikurim, and everyone going to Yerushalayim, and everyone having a street party, and everyone hanging out and saying, thank you, Hashem, for my first fruit, then, sure, I want to choose you. Where are you going? You're going to Yerushalayim? You're going to have a party? Amazing. I would love to hang out with you. Not everything needs to be spoken about. You can keep some things to yourself. Some of the sad things of life don't have to be part of every single person's conversation. I'm not saying there are a lot of people who are outgoing who like to talk about things. Not everything must be spoken about. There are some things that we have to keep our conversations. Some things we have to keep our conversations pure, classy, respectful, proper. What we're supposed to talk about, the way we're supposed to say, how we describe things, how we describe people, how we describe our family. Some things just aren't supposed to be spoken about. Take a step back. Think about the person who killed by mistake. There are signs on the road, probably tens of thousands of dollars spent on signs on the road in order that we don't have to speak about murder all the time. Do you want to speak about murder all the time? Is that what people want to hear about? In a couple of weeks, it's the anniversary of 9/11, the Jewish anniversary is Tav Gimel Elul. 9/11. I give a lot of people what to talk about for a long time. Talk about it, death, this. When we, as Jews, talk about it, what do we talk about? We talk about the miracles of 9/11. The people who were saved at that time. The people who didn't show up at the buildings those days. And the people who showed up, like my father, who showed up that day, and we'll talk about it another time, but was miraculously saved from the buildings falling down. My father was underneath the building when it came down. That's what we talk about. When we talk about the terrible tragedy of Simchas Torah War, the war that started on Simchas Torah, what they call October 7th, but what we know is the Simchas Torah War. When we talk about the tragedy of that day, I was waiting. I remember waiting. Of course, we talk about initially the sadness the Jewish people go through, but we were waiting for the stories, and we knew the stories would come. The stories of people being saved, the stories of miracles that happen to people. How do you look at the world? Do you look at the world tragedy, of sadness? Is that what you want to talk about? Or do you look at the positive brachos of things? I told my class a story this week. I found it very, very powerful. There's a song. I don't know how it goes. But if I was a Baba Brachos, apparently I would know. In Baba, on the largest chassidus in America, whenever they go down the aisle by the chuppah, they have a certain tune. It's the same tune they use by Lechadei the other week. It's apparently known as the Trup Niggin. Not Trup like Talmim of Chris, etc., but Trup means dripping. The Trup Niggin. Why is it called the Trup Niggin? Because there was a Yid, his name was Rabbi Mendelbaum. And before the Holocaust, he was very, very poor. And he was living in a home, him and his family, and he loved to sing. But they didn't have much food. And they didn't have much warmth in their house. But you know, they had a roof over their head, and they sang by that Shabbos table and sang Divrei Torah by the Shabbos table. And it was beautiful. Until one Shabbos, it was raining. And it was raining a lot. And it rained even more. And drip, 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 drip. Smash. What happened? The roof finally caved in. And now the dripping wasn't on the roof. The dripping was on their table. Drip, 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 drip. And as a remember that was the head of the table, he heard drip, 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 drip. He said to the people around the table, "You hear it?" I said, "What?" "Do you hear the song?" And as the drip, each drip came down, he started singing a song to the beat of the drips. And he made this classic tune, a Baba Ver song, Lechadei. Every Baba Ver Chassid walks down the aisle to this song, known as the dripping tune, the trumping. He made a song out of it. And how do we know this story? Because in the Holocaust, this is what he was singing to his dad, the trumping. And people heard that song, and they brought it with them, and they taught it to Baba Ver Chassidim, and it became the standard. We're talking about a person who had the most sadness in his life, this tragedy of being so poor without a roof on his head. And he takes the trup, he takes the dripping, and he makes a song out of it. How do you look at life? Do you look at your difficulties and say, "Oh my gosh, I can't even deal with it. How do I survive? I'm done. I give up. I'm out of here." Or do you say, no. I'm learning the message of the Arab Mikvah. There are some things, don't focus on the negative. Don't focus on the negative. Let's focus on Bikurim. Let's choose about Bikurim. Let's talk about it. Shabbos is coming. Shabbos is coming. I'm so excited. Shabbos is coming. Shabbos is coming. You get to sit at your Shabbos table. You get to talk about happy things. People are going to be at that table. They're going to be those people who want to talk about sad things. They're going to want to talk about negative things. My grandmother, hopefully you guys have this minute on your table. My grandmother, by her Shabbos table, they had a rule when she was a little girl. You were not allowed to talk Hungarian. They were Hungarian. Now it's on Hungarian at the Shabbos table. Only Yiddish. Only allowed to talk Yiddish. And my grandma didn't speak Yiddish. So only the boys were allowed to talk at the Shabbos table. That was terrible. She didn't like that. But the purpose of it was control the things that are coming out of your mouth. If you knew you were only able to speak a foreign language, then you'll be very careful with the things you end up saying. Shabbos is a time of great joy. It's a time of happiness. It's a time to talk about positive. Say Divrei Torah. Say something special. Say some happy news that came out this week. Yeshiva was actually pretty good this week. The guy, he spoke forever on Erev Shabbos. He said he would speak for 10, 11 minutes. It's been 47 minutes already. I don't know how long it's been. But speak about positive and happy things. Be'ez Hashem, we should be sleicha to fill our lives with joy. And when we look around, it'll be a whole world to be Purim. And no world.